So is there any? Got it. Welcome everyone. Let's open this meeting. Is there any apologies?
Yeah, if I could just add, David is coming, but he's just running a bit late today.
Okay, David lateness.
And there's me, Graham. Yeah, no.
I thought that Graham was here. I might just remind him. I'll just put myself on mute and phone Graham.
Okay. Public forum, is there anyone zooming in for that? Okay, I've got a couple of things. Car parks at the sort of the end of it inside the golf gym club, started with G, is getting really tatty in that, and cars are driving on it. Is there an opportunity that we could put some stones along there or something, a barricade to keep people from turning on the grass?
Because there used to be trucks. Gary used to have the issue with the trucks, but the trucks have stopped doing that.
Yeah. So there might be something that we could ask roading or, I don't know, someone.
Good afternoon, ladies.
Hi, Graham.
You are looking great, all three of you. So you obviously know something I don't.
It's in the water here.
It's in the water. It's good water.
Yeah.
How are you, Councillor Bradbury?
Frozen. I blame Graham. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
What's happened now?
No, we're
No,
good
nothing. It
there.
just froze up for a minute. It must have been the compliment. We're not used to them. So that,
Sorry, I missed that question. So could you just repeat that? Because I was trying to get Graham online.
it's about the Long Bay car park now that it's all sealed. People are going onto the grass to turn around, and the grass is looking pretty rough. And a member of the public just wanted to know if we could put some sort of barrier along there, maybe some carefully placed rocks or something like that. So this is public forum stuff.
I don't see any reason why a few big boulders can't be dumped along there to stop them driving on there.
Yeah, well, they did it in another bit of grass just to the left of it, so it might just, yeah, we might need to talk to, can we raise a service request and put that through Scott and the rating team?
Yes,
Yep.
I think it's a good idea.
Tom,
Yes.
do you have any comment on that? Sorry, you're on mute, Tom.
It is a roading job so yeah, like just the long vehicle car park is part of the roading team, but yeah, would have no issue with that.
Okay, well, will somebody pass that on to them?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's that one. And another one I had, is the possibility of some signs along by where Talc is, because quite a few people are parking their caravans and trailers and taking up heaps of space. And this particular person that raised this with me, and I'm just going to give her an anonymity because I'm not sure she wants to name it there. She went and talked to the people very nicely and asked them if they knew where the Long Bay car park was, and they didn't. So a couple of signs strategically pointing people that way would be good.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll make that as part of the customer services request.
Yep, okay. And the third thing I had was a stop sign on the intersection of Temple Drive where it comes out onto Osler Road. If there could be a stop sign there rather than a give way, because some people aren't giving way properly, and it's just an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. We'd probably need to take that back to the roading team for them to come and have a look at that, and to give us some kind of feedback on that before we can just commit to putting a stop sign there.
Okay, can we pass that on to roading as well? Tom,
Yep.
will you do that, or?
I'm just logging them, and normally Eileen sends through the customer service requests at the end of the meeting as part of our actions.
Is Arlene here?
Yeah, she's here, she's just
Yeah.
got the logo, that's
Oh.
her there.
It's not right not seeing it.
But she's busy frantically trying to run.
Is there anything else on the public forum? Have you girls had anyone?
Just the signs, the long vehicle
car park sign in that Twizel Early Learning Centre. That was something that I had brought to my attention as well.
Yeah, and it was on Facebook as
Yeah,
well.
that's right. Came to my attention, yeah.
Oh, somebody got it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that's it for the public forum. So is there any declarations of interest?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just have to declare that I am a sponsor in the upcoming Easter hunt this weekend, and so I just see that there is I'm not a part of Twizel Little Movers, but I am sponsoring the event, so I feel like I don't want to vote on that grant request.
Okay, cool, thank you. Right, reports, minutes of the Twizel Community Board meeting, 7th of March. Oh, is Sandy, are you waiting to talk? Do you want to talk now, or are you going to wait till the finance bit comes up?
Sorry, no, just whenever you want.
Sandy was just going to give us a bit of a presentation. Are you going to do a bit of a presentation, Sandy?
Yes, I am, but I can
on the-
wait until, I can wait till the finance comes up. It's probably easier.
Yep, that sounds like a good plan, doesn't it? Thank you. Right, in the minutes of the community board meeting. Yeah. So, I will receive these minutes and confirm they're an accurate and correct record of the meeting. I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Oh, contrary? Oh, carried. Oops. Okay, let's go to community board financial report. So Sandy, do you want to start off first or after we've done the report?
If you do the report first.
It might be a
Sorry,
good idea.
just do the report first, and then I can come in after that if you like.
Okay. Well, it all looks pretty good, doesn't it?
I was going to say, Jackie, Sandy might like to take you through the report. It's often quite refreshing to hear from Sandy. She's put it together.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor Graham, I'll have to say that I didn't put it together.
Oh,
Joe Hurst puts it together for us, so I would probably be taking you through something I haven't actually seen. So apologies for that.
sorry.
That's all right.
It's all right.
Good.
You can throw me under the bus anytime.
Now that it's presented in this format, it's pretty easy to see, and it all looks in order. Is everyone happy with it?
Yeah, I'm just interested to know in the expenditure, the Heritage House project on the 7th of the 3rd, have we actually given them $10,000? I feel like I need to refresh my memory. Or
We agreed to $10,000, and then we got that email saying that it had to go through Brian.
Didn't it have to go through council or something?
Yes, because you haven't got the authority to give 10,000 in a grant.
yeah, I just said it's already come out, but I feel like there was still one more movement to be had on that. That's why I question. That's why I'm raising it.
We will raise it when we take the minutes through in council.
So do you just need to the council just need to rubber stamp it?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yes, that's what I understood.
Yeah.
Arlene, were you about? Arlene?
Yes, Arlene's there.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me?
no, she's just had a.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh,
we
we
got
can
you.
hear you now.
Sorry, my microphone wasn't working.
Lost you again.
Oh, did you hear what we're talking about?
No, she's lost it again.
We've
Oh,
lost you, Arlene.
How about this?
Yeah,
No?
Yep.
Oh, we can
Yeah.
see you and hear you.
Yeah, we've got you, Arlene.
She's staying.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got you.
Sorry, I don't something wrong with my equipment, sorry. I just wanted to say it's not a rubber stamp one because it's the project's budget and not a grants budget. So I think my email explained that you can still spend that money from the project's budget, but that's for community board projects. So therefore, the Heritage House needs to become a community board project to spend that money. And you can do that by putting invoices through Brian or Dave Adamson.
Sorry, Arlene, you were really faint there. Is there any way you could turn your volume up? Sorry.
Testing. Full. Can you not hear me?
No, we've lost her again.
It's the microphone on your speaker.
I'll
Oh, well, the community board's quite clear that it wants to give
Yeah,
$10,000 of their money. So whatever way we can do to get it over there, that's what we want to do. Okay, we'll accept this financial report.
Yep, I'm happy to.
Okay.
Sorry, can I just go back to what Arlene was trying to say? Because I just went to the end of the meeting where she had put the action points. It was noted there was a time frame to meet. Final approval would need to come from council as this was council-owned land. The community agreed to allocate 10,000, so we don't need to take that decision back to council. Just the decision of where the plan and where the Heritage House was going to be placed. And I think there were some questions around how that was going to be maintained into the future. So I guess those were the issues that we wanted to take back to council. As far as I understand, Arlene, if you could just nod, then.
Yeah, no, that's dead right, Angela. But we have not received a report back from council. There was a couple of sites looked at. There was pros and cons for each. We still have to work through that.
But certainly you can allocate your budget to it because that's within your control.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we're worried about. Well, we're worried about a few things, but. Okay, so we've accepted that financial report.
Well, I moved it.
And
It
I'll
needed to be seconded.
seconded, all in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Okay, Sandy.
Right, so my report that I want to take you through, my presentation, is in regards to the annual plan for 22-23. So I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully you will see it. Bear with me. Can you see that report there?
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn it into, sorry, I didn't quite have it set up properly. Okay, so this is just a presentation in regards to the draft annual plan for 22-23, just to give you guys a little bit of an understanding of where we're at and where we're going. It forms part, so the annual plan for 22-23 forms part of year 2 of the long-term plan. So the long-term plan was adopted December 2021. It was late being adopted. And of course, we're 9 months now through that, so of year 1. So this is our year 2 one. And it's just, I'm just give you a brief overview of the planning process. So this is our key 3 documents. So this is number 2 of the key 3 documents that we do. Just a brief summary of the LTP 21-20 to 31. One of the things that came out of the LTP is that we set ourselves up to fund our future. And so that means that our rates are going to increase. And so these were the 7 key sort of strategic pieces that came out of the LTP and how we were going to manage to do those to fund the district going forward. And that was why the rates were to increase. So there was the making sure that our required levels of services were met. We tackled our capital and operational maintenance budget. We also resourced it appropriately, so we delivered our key projects. We completed a review of the Mackenzie district plan. We also were funding compliance requirements for both the Fairlie and the Twizel events, the Fairlie Council building and the Twizel event centres, so that they were bringing them up so that they were safe. We're going to address some additional central government requirements, particularly around the New Zealand drinking water standards, and also making sure that our costs that we have associated with our increased capital expenditure are also met, so that's in depreciation and interest. Our financial strategy had some key pieces in it as well, and these are what basically underpins all of our decision making going forward for the next 3 years and helps with the annual plan. So what we're saying here is that we do certainly set limits on our rates and our rates increases, and we also set limits on our borrowing. But we're trying to manage our finances in a way that is prudent and strategic, and we're also making sure that we effectively are remaining operationally and financially sustainable. So that. And one of the things that came out of the LTP in 21 to 31 was that we do traditionally have had some of the lowest rates in the country, but in saying that, we've noticed that, you know, our services that we provide are great, but some of the conditions of our infrastructure is starting to deteriorate. So what this is recognised is that we are required to spend a little bit more money to bring them back up, and council agreed to do that. So the LTP did state that in our year 2 we would have a rates increase of 17.3%. We are looking under this annual plan of a rates increase of about 17. So it's in line with what the LTP said. The annual plan is going to be a no surprises plan, basically. We are still keeping the level of service that we had, even though we've made some slight savings in there. Just on how we did our annual plan. So we set off with a budget process. So the first thing we do is we basically get all the managers to do their budgets. Your starting point is normally the year 2 of the LTP. But what we ask them to do is also look at what the communities have asked for, what the boards have asked for, and to make sure that we're meeting everything that we need to meet. And so when they originally put the first lot of budgets to us, which was just before Christmas, it was sitting at about 28%, the increase that was going to be required to meet everything that was in there. So that was approximately just under 10% higher than what we had indicated in our LTP. We asked the budget holders to relook at their budgets and also look at trying to reduce it down. So then when the first workshop that we took to council, so council have actually had 2 workshops plus a third sort of analysis as well, but during that time, the first workshop that we took to council, we got it down to 23%. Now, we hadn't decreased any of our levels of service. We just checked to make sure that our operating costs were in line, that we could actually do everything we wanted to do and keep everything sort of tracking. So when we had our workshop with the councillors, they said, well, yes, we can. We really don't want to go out with any more than what we said we would in the LTP. And with that, we were able to just reduce it slightly. So we've saved 0.3%. And as I keep saying, our level of service hasn't changed. We've made sure of that. In fact, in some areas, our levels of service are increasing to what we probably had in there. And we've just sort of, I suppose, fine-tuned it so that we can get there. These are some of the major projects. So what I've done is I'm going to give you a detailed list of all the projects throughout the district so you get a feel for it. And then I have got some specific ones to Twizel. So just within the district roading area, we were looking at doing some unsealed metal roading, some sealed resurfacing, footpath renewals and minor improvements. Now, some of this is, although it's in there as district-wide, there are areas that will affect Twizel, but I can't actually specifically state where and whereabouts with that because of the roading projects. The program is a little bit flexible. It's in Three Waters. We were looking at reticulation. So these are all things that we had said we were going to do in the LTP, and we're still continuing to do these. None of these have, there is just one thing I think that we've done in wastewater, which is actually a carry forward. in fact, no, in water supplies, there's a carry forward in there for this year. And that's because we know we're not going to meet that. And that is actually the meter installation in Twizel. So we're not going to complete that project all this year that we said we would. And so we've rebudgeted that into next year as well. We've also got some new projects that have come online, and that's just from condition maintenance and things that David Adamson's been working in, and that's installing 3 inlet screens within the wastewater plants in both Fairlie, Tekapo and Twizel. So there's some extra money being spent there. Go into the actual township area.
Sorry, can I just interject Sandy, just to sort of say, the reason why we're putting those inlet screens in is because we've just done the desludging work, and by putting those screens in, it actually gives that desludging work a bit of longevity. So it means that the work we've done will actually keep the ponds, cleaner for longer.
So within the township areas, we've got the district-wide projects. We've got a trail strategy implementation there. We've got in the Tekapo township, there's some things with the implementation of the development plans. In Twizel, we've got our Lake Ruataniwha project. So there's around the Lake Ruataniwha Reserve. And then we're also spending some money on the community centre in Twizel, doing the upgrades in there.
So
Public toilet. Sorry.
We can't read the whole page.
It's all right, I can just put this down.
Okay, just go back a page, please.
Yeah, sure. Hold on, let me go. That one there?
Is that we want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will go back into detail over these
Okay, cool.
further in. And also I'll give you this presentation so you can see it. I will actually forward it to you as well.
Oh, great,
Thank
cool,
you.
thank you.
So it's not just you're going to see this and not have it back. So there's in Twizel Community Centre. We've also got public toilets. We've got some work in there around and that's really around the Alps to Ocean Trail toilets, and in the Jollies car park, and relocation of the Patterson Pond toilets. And then the Fairlie swimming pool's got some major renewals. Now, most of these are actually, the Fairlie swimming pool's renewals are a lot of carry forwards from what we were intending on doing this year. So we've rebudgeted those as well. Now, we've also got another major project in here, which is in here for the district plan review. This isn't actually a capital project. So all the projects I've listed prior are capital projects. The district plan review, of course, is in the capital project, but it is a major piece of work that we're doing and is over a number of years. So we just go into the Twizel specific projects that we have. So we've got the Twizel water meters, which are under the water supply. We've got the inlet screens, which Angela's talked about. We've got the Twizel Community Centre upgrade.
Can I go one step back? So the Twizel water meters, it's all part of our sustainable water management. One of the things we're required to manage going forward is consumption of water. And one of the things we've noted, we've actually front page of the Timaru Herald the other day for having the highest water consumption in the country. So, these meters give us the ability to start looking at that consumption and to see how we manage it sustainably going forwards.
There's still a lot of leaks around us.
Yeah, how often are the leaks checked? Because there's one down the road from me that's been leaking for at least 3 or 4 weeks now.
I think the moment you see something like that, log a service request and, ask, phone customer services, log it, and, it will get attended to. I suppose, from the operations guys, if they don't know about it, they don't fix it. So they're not out and about all the time. So, if there is something like that, good for us to know so we can log a service request.
Yeah.
Angela, you just said exactly what I was going to say, that if we don't know about it, we don't even know to fix it. So if you give me an address, and I can get back to you later to tell you the status of that particular service request. Or you can just.
It's on Mackenzie Drive.
Yeah, near where though?
It's near Fraser Crescent. I'll send the address.
Oh, beautiful. Send it right to me and I can file it for you. We'll get it started. Thank you.
Thank you.
So carrying on, we've got in Twizel Pool, we've got some inflatables that we're purchasing for there. We've got the Lake Ruataniwha project, we've got the development implementation, and we've got some signage upgrade in the town centre that we're looking at. And as well as that, we've got some work happening in the Pukaki Airport. We're doing some car parking improvements there. So they were the Twizel specific projects. Now, my next slide is just giving you a little bit of a taste for the sample rate. Sorry, I've just got a funny thing with my mouse. There we go. Now, what we've done here is we've tried to minimize as much as possible the 17% rates increase and trying to make it stabilize it across the areas. So we haven't changed our UAGC. We've kept that at $150. We did have the option of increasing that. We've also kept the roading, what they call the roading cattle stock rate, which affects a lot of rural properties. And we've also kept the Twizel improvement rate at the same as what it was this year. So they're the three that we've kept. Those targeted rates, we've actually kept them the same. This might be a little bit hard to read, but what we've got here is we've got a section of a sample of rates. So these are our residential properties. You'll see that they're sitting on that 15 to 16% increase over and above what they've got this year.
I think just to also point out, just to say that, we've got a high percentage, but if you really look at it, there's the dollars there as well. So I don't know if you want to give us a sense of what the dollars look like, because it's difficult to read that. Okay, so for example, an average house, which I would say would be between so we've got a low value house we're saying here is 365,000. The rates for this current year were 1,880. Now this is just district rates, it doesn't include Environment Canterbury. So it's 1,880 is what we're saying, that's what we struck for this year. And for next year, we're looking at 2,183. So it's an increase of about $300.
What's it on $1 million house?
Pardon, what was that?
What's it on $1 million house?
Okay, I haven't got a million, but I've got a 1.3 million.
Oh,
and I've
yeah.
got a 500,000. So for a 1.3 million dollar house, more in the high value, we're looking at $500 worth of increase in rates.
What to sell the house? It's not bad though compared to going up in increments. Like if you were a 365, it's about a $300 and something.
You'd be lucky to find a house for 365.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're classified. These are the samples that we've used out of our rating system. So what we have is when we put the samples together, we actually take the total rates that are available in our rating system, and these are what they tell us are our mid. So we've got a mid-value section, we've got a low-value house, a mid-value house, and a high-value house. Now we try to keep, and we'll keep these values at these, but certainly it gives you an indication that, then we can't get them exact other than going through and giving everybody their samples. We just go on to the next lot of properties. What we have here is we have the commercial. Now these are so commercial is what we call our business properties. We also have our accommodation, so that's our hotels, and the secondary accommodation is your Airbnbs or long-term rental properties. So what we have got there is similar type thing. Whoops, sorry, I went too far. We have an increase, it's got an increase of $583 a year proposed, and for a high value property of $3.5 million, we've got a $1,400 increase. Get into our accommodation areas, we've got a $750,000, which is a mid-value property, and that's got a $350 increase. And our high-value accommodation, which is sitting at $8.8 million, so our major hotels, it's got $1,700 worth of increase. And then we get into our Airbnbs for our secondary residential accommodation. They are between $469 increase and $653 for a $750,000 property and a 1.3 million.
So to be fair, Sandy, because we've lifted the UAGC, the bottom end, like sections and low valued houses, have had a bigger in proportion increase.
Yes, that's correct, me, Graham. One of the issues we do have is we do have a lot of targeted rates, so they are set at a uniformed charge. So of course, every property is getting hit exactly the same amount, no matter what your value is. So yes, the smaller or lower valued properties do get, I guess, the higher charge there because of those fixed charges being in.
That's pretty harsh. with most
That's
of those-
really harsh, because most of those people that have got the lower value houses, that's because that's what they can afford, and the people that've got higher value houses, that's what they can afford. So you're really targeting those people that are trying quite hard to make ends meet in a pretty tough situation at the moment.
Just to add, in terms of the UAGC that we've had has traditionally been exceptionally low. So last year we increased it. Most councils are sitting at a UAGC close to about $500, $600. So we're still quite low down on what the UAGC is compared to other councils. Sandy, you'd agree with that?
Yes, I would, and it's one of those things, but unfortunately, the finance and revenue policy is what dictates how we rate, and I mean that is basically decided for 3 years. So this was part of, like, we haven't made any changes, we haven't created any new rates, we haven't changed how we rate. This is how we've been rating, and in fact, last year under the LTP for the next 10 years, we made the decision to, I think we brought in a new rate, the community facilities rate, which was to make it a little bit more, even that one up. And I think there were some changes to our tourism rates, but other than that, we haven't really changed how we rate, and those fixed charges have always been there, unfortunately.
So Angela, it's interesting that you say that we're a lot, we've been a lot lower than other parts of the country. It'd be interesting to see how our mean income compares to other parts of the country as well. There's a lot more people here working hospitality, tourism, which traditionally have not been as well-paying positions as what people in other parts of the country are paying. And interesting as well that we have this tourism charge. And I know that it's going to come up later in the meeting, but we pretty much in this town, we have tourism industry, but I don't actually see what we're getting in response for paying for tourism. Yes, we get those beautiful videos, which are amazing, but we don't actually have anywhere in our town currently where people can go to find out about what they can do in this town.
So just answering your first question, Jackie, on the UAGC. As CEO from Kaikoura, one of the things I can honestly tell you is that probably the median income there is probably similar to the median income, in Twizel in terms of the tourist income and the lower incomes from hospitality. Our UAGC was significantly higher than what this represents. And I guess we've had to look at how we tweak this rating model to make it equitable, and it does have unintended consequences. We do need to probably relook at our rating model at some point and how we fund things. Just going on to the tourism rate, I take your point about the kiosk. That's certainly something that we need to remedy, and we need to actually make sure that it is operational. From what I understand, it's a connectivity issue. Chris has it on his radar screen. He actually understands he's had someone go out and have a look at what's not working there. And it's a case of getting someone out to actually get the connectivity sorted. I think during COVID, we've had a bit of a problem getting people out to go and do that work, but certainly I said to him, we need to get that work expedited, so that will get done and it will get sorted. The other thing I thought, just on tourism, I'd just give you a bit of a upshot of, and it's probably a little bit of a plug for the Te Mana Huna project. And we've been holding drop-in sessions, in Tekapo, Twizel and Fairley. But I think what's going to come out the end of that is going to be a really exciting concept for how we take tourism forward for the Mackenzie. And it's really geared at sort of getting a higher yield you know, not immediately, but over time, we certainly want to get a higher yields for people so that we do get to see some of the better incomes flowing down and into the community. So tourism actually works for our communities. But I think even more exciting is what it's going to offer us. Hopefully at the end of this, we actually have a list of some really good projects, and I can tell you I'm already seeing some of the thoughts around those projects, and they definitely are exciting for Twizel. And you know, so one of the things is then how do we take those forward, and how do we get a bit of funding for those, you know, going forwards from central government? How do we get elicit some people have already had, you know, grants given to them for some development. So, you know, there's some really exciting things bubbling up. Graham, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yes, no, I fully agree with that too, but we're, yeah, look out, Twizel, things are going to become pretty exciting. But I will say back to Amanda's question around rates and hardship, we do have a rates relief policy within council, so people can apply if they're under hardship to have some reduction.
Thank you.
It's always difficult to be like dead fair across the whole of our businesses and our people, those that are rich and those that are not so rich. But what we do work very hard is to try and balance a system that produces enough revenue to be able for us to be sustainable and move forward as a council and meet some of the expectations. And every year our ratepayers expect more and more and more. But I am always concerned about the rates we have to pay as a ratepayer. But I really think we're only kidding ourselves if we don't get enough funding to pay for our rates and we run unfunded budgets.
Yeah, unfortunately, the LTP, what it did show was that, you know, in order to meet some of those things that Sandy had right up front in her presentation, we looked at various ways in which we could fund things, and there just wasn't any alternative but to put the rates up. So we've had two really big jumps. Last year was 18% and this year 17%. So you add that up, that's 35%. We hopefully after this, we've done the jump, and then we start to see the increases coming down. But hopefully the upshot of all of that will be, or not hopefully, we will deliver the outcomes that we said we would deliver, and we will deliver things into the community. Certainly from Twizel, what's come through is that we actually need to get together around the Twizel projects. And we need to start getting, you know, move forward on those aspects, and we will definitely deliver on those items.
Good.
Fantastic.
Right.
So the next set of, So the next set of slides are just on the rural side. So we've got, I've put in here the rural rates as well. And you'll see there that these are based on, so we've got the residential again with some lifestyle. These probably don't have as big increases because I'll just, for the fact that they don't have, I have not included in these rates other than in the townships, a solid waste. The rest of the rates, for example, around the water supplies, because there's so many different water supplies that some of these rural areas are on, I couldn't give you an example for every rural area. So we've excluded rates for any water supplies or any other wastewater services that they may get. So that's why their rates are sitting lower. So these are just really the core rates that they receive. And then we've got the actual farms themselves. And then finally, the last secondary accommodation rates within the rural area as well. So that's farms, homestays on farms, etc. Second houses that they have, which they rent out. And that is the presentation. So thank you for letting us do this for you, just to give you an indication of what we've been doing for the annual plan and where we're sort of sitting with our drafts at the moment.
Thank you for coming along and giving that presentation. Very interesting.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thank you.
So what I'll do is I'll forward it to Arlene, who will forward it on to you.
Great.
If I could just add one thing onto the end of that, having mentioned the Te Mauna Huna project, there is a consultation running at the moment on the destination management plan with some key ideas for projects, and it would be really good for people, if we could get people to go online in the community and give us some thoughts around projects, because while this is a tourism project, it's also making sure that we look after the needs of community. And so, getting any feedback from there, relevant to tourism would be really useful.
Yep, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, that grant application from the Little Movers. Yeah. Yep, so you wanna.
What's the wording? What's the wording going? I'll move that we grant the $172.50 to Twizel Little Movers for the purchase of Easter egg cutouts.
I second that. That's
All
Renee.
in favour? Aye. Contrary? Carried. Thanks, ladies. Okay, the Twizel Community Board General Update. Tom, are you gonna take the lead on this?
Yeah, so with Brian's absence, I was going to jump onto this. So the marketplace and service centre accessway upgrade. With some complications with organising accommodation for the council office and postal services, it's been necessary to delay the project till September to August, sometime around then. Which is needed just to ensure that the concrete laying is actually not undertaken during winter months, as the frost can actually damage the concrete quite significantly. So the Ohio Road Reserve development consultation has, it's with the communications team at the council, which is supposed to be put on to Let's Talk in the next wee while, and we're going to try and work with the TPDA hopefully to put that out to the community a wee bit more to reach everyone.
Didn't we decide that at the last meeting? We were doing that?
Yeah, so so that consultation, it was supposed to be out 3 weeks ago. We've just had delays with the comms team. They've just been super busy. So I apologise that it's not out already. I've been on the back. So the Lake Ruataniwha Reserve Management Plan works continuing on preparation of the plan, following stakeholder engagement work. Staff met with South Island rowing representatives over the Māori regatta to ensure alignment of objectives. The draft plan should be available for consideration at the next community board meeting.
Do you realise that's not until the 11th of July?
Sorry.
Our next meeting is the 11th of July, 3 months.
Yeah, so it's a wee bit later. Yeah, so it's. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be ready probably sometime between now and then. But unfortunately, we can't bring that to you guys this meeting. So.
Okay. If it becomes, sorry, Emily.
No, I was just going to say, how's the feedback been looking so far?
It's been looking really good. So it's one of my colleagues, Daffod's, been running through most of that work. But I mean, what I could do is I could try and get an email out to you guys to give you an update sometime between now and the next community board meeting, if that helps.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And even if the plan becomes available, I'm sure you could flick that to us to have a look at between now and July as well.
Yeah. So I'll talk to Daffod and we'll see how we're progressing. I haven't had the full update. I think Brian was running through a lot more of that, but I will make sure that gets out to you as soon as possible.
Cool, thanks.
The Twizel Event Centre work's progressing well. I think we were going to try and get Angie to have a wee bit of a chat about that. I'm not sure if you wanted to do that later, Angie.
Yeah, I can do a quick update now if you like. Work's progressing well. There's been a lot ticked off the list so far already. I'm not sure if David's on the call yet. No, he hasn't made it in yet. There has been some delays, mainly around material supply. Some of the items I think that are required are quite specialised, and so securing those has been a little bit tricky in places. But things are ticking along and all going quite well so far.
Cool.
Just thinking about that, perhaps at the next meeting we might, I might see if Mike Nesbitt, who's project managing the work, to see if he could come in and do a more thorough update for you.
Yeah, well, hopefully by July the 11th, we'll be having our meeting over there, and maybe we could have a wee walk around before our meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
David was waiting to get the details for the ventilation and the heating system, and that was next cab off the rank. So he'll certainly be able to give us an update on that as well.
So yeah, next one. So the TIF funded public toilets that are going into Lake Ruataniwha, the contractors planning processes, they're going really well. They're just doing some establishment work now, and yeah, that's looking on target at the moment for time frame. The pool heating project for the Twizel pool, Coombs has been awarded the contract for the project. We're expecting that to be completed by June, July. So yeah, it should be well and truly ready by next summer. Alpine Energy has also let out a contract to Netcon for a power infrastructure upgrade, which is going to take place in late April. So there will be a power outage for a day at the office and event centre, and an emergency backup generator is going to be available for the office to keep everything running. We also ran a debrief.
Hang on, Tom. Because the gym's a big user of that event centre and operates every day, so will there be plenty of notice? Because we'll have to tell our people they can't use the gym that day.
Yep, so I am not 100% sure what the generator situation will be like. It might be able to cover that, but if not, I think, yeah, we'll do our best to give as much.
Yeah, well, if you can cover it, that's great, but if not, we're happy to work in, just need some notice. Cool.
Sweet. Yeah, so we had a meeting with Belgravia, who was running the swimming pool contract for this year. That went really, really well. Yeah, and we went over a couple of points. The biggest feedback we had from public through the summer's operations was just water temperature, which was to be expected. But in general, like we had really good feedback about the staff and all the other operations there. Yeah, question from the board.
Can I just have I've got a question for you, Tom, on when's the plan? Are we emptying the pool here? Just seems like it would make more sense to empty it prior to it getting filthy and leaves dropping in it, just so that it makes the clean-up job at the other end of the season much easier.
Yeah, so no, we talked with Belgravia and they were wanting to leave water in the pool for the winter. It was discussed that it's actually going to be easier from a maintenance perspective. I don't know their background and reasoning behind that, but they reckon that it will be easier.
You know, they've been in there for the last
They usually
years.
only leave a small amount though, and just because otherwise the algae and the build up around the top of the pool, you could get in there and scrub it halfway.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, from what I understand, the liner that is inside the pool, it's actually better maintenance-wise to have some water left in that to maintain that liner.
Oh.
So that could be the reasoning behind it.
Okay, yeah, cool. Radio.
Sweet. Yeah, and then the other thing as well, we are getting a mural, hopefully put onto that Twizel pool wall. So it is a council wall. So there might be a bit more artwork hopefully going up around the township. I'm not sure if I brought that up before, but hopefully we'll be able to bring a proposal or proposed design for that wall. So there is already something there, but it is quite dated. So we're just going to update that.
Do you think that we'd be able to look at what's proposed before it goes up?
Definitely. So yeah, we'll do the same thing as what I've done with the wall that's just behind the old Foursquare.
Yeah, even some the smaller Foursquare. It's not old, but anyway. So just it would be good to have some options, Tom.
Yep.
Just so that with the TPDA one, it was understandable that they organised that. But for the council one by the port, it would be nice to get 2 or 3 options at least just to choose from, so we can kind of get a gauge on the look and feel.
I mean, it would also be good to see if they could get any input from, some of the youth in the community, to have some input to some of those designs.
School, we've seen some of their work. And even, what about local artists too? There might be.
Yeah.
Oh, there's just some really cool stuff out there. Like you go to, Christchurch City is an absolute, it's awesome.
And
There's some really cool stuff out there. I think, doing something like that. You think about it.
Yeah, so the mural that's behind the Foursquare as well, there is a proposed design which I've put into the report. I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to have a look through that.
Yep, we've got it here.
So yeah, just hoping to get some approval for that as well. Or if you would like to add some feedback or suggest any changes, or
What does the woman represent?
I'm not too sure. Like I haven't talked to artists. I think there was. Well, I've got to put it here.
Oh, it must be David.
Yeah, so I think there was a bit of a background behind the design. I think it was supposed to be something to do with linking different themes throughout the district. But I can send through the email that the TPDA sent through, which I think might have a bit more information about the design.
Well, that would be good, because I get most of it, even though the salmon looks like an alligator to me. I get the light bulbs in the mountain. So delayed.
Do you think that there could be some sort of plaque or some sort of thing explaining the design? Because I get most of it too, but like you, Jackie, I was like, what's the woman? Who's she?
Yeah, it says Twizel welcoming mural, memory in the light bulb. The design is such that the scenery of Twizel, which is the heart of Mackenzie, and the richness of nature are confined in a light bulb. The contents of each light bulb illuminate the surrounding area. That's it. And no explanation on the lady.
Because that lady almost looks like a witch, and I'm taking umbrage at that.
Yeah, I'll have a chat with the TPDA, and there might be a chance that we can actually do something in the way of putting a bit of a written thing up at the bottom corner of it that might sort of explain it a bit more as well. But if you guys are happy with that design, I'll take that back to the TPDA.
I wouldn't say that I'm happy with the design. I think it's a bit, I think we can do better.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm glad you said that, Renee, because I'm not very happy with it either. I just thought, WTF, I thought when I saw that.
There are some parts of it that are fantastic, but there are other parts of it that are like, really?
I think this is art as well. I think when you've got multiple ones that all have incredible meaning and things, I think that's what's, you're not going to find artwork that everyone's going to love. I think that's something that we need to.
And I just think, it's just a bit random. The light bulbs and things, it's just, yes, it's artwork and it's subjective, but it should have an affinity with people who visit the town instead of people going, what's with the so-and-so? I don't know. I think it's a great starting point. Let's use it as a starting point, but let's improve on it.
So do we have any general feedback that I can take back to the TPDA?
The woman.
No, I think Renee's comments just there, I think sort of plant it well, that we want people to understand what it's about, what are they looking at, they're coming into Twizel when they, you know, can they understand what is in this artwork and does it resonate with them being here in Twizel?
Yeah, I don't think it represents, you know, the whole reason why we're here in the first place, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was completely underwhelmed when I saw it, and I thought the colours are not,
I think it's been done by someone who doesn't live in Twizel.
well, yeah.
Do we have any suggestions of themes that they could potentially base the design around? Like things
Twizel,
that-
welcome to Twizel.
Yeah,
Twizel.
yeah, like a little bit about the hydro history and a little bit
I
of.
suppose that's where the light bulbs are, is the hydro.
The big industrial heritage that the town has, and as well as the geological kind of foundations that we're sitting on, the extraordinary landscape we have. It's just, the list is endless, and I don't think light bulbs feature anywhere except for the complaints that we've had about our light bulbs on the streets, which is an ongoing community board matter, which isn't relevant to everyone.
Cool. So I'll take that back to the TPDA and hopefully we'll be able to get something back to you.
Something that links the area with the Maori, you know, the tangata,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I want to see that as well,
Yeah.
because I mean that was here before the hydro town was here, which was here before the black stilts. Well, maybe not the black
And there's
stilts.
actually a lot to be said for our Maori heritage here and what the meaning actually is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll take that feedback back. But yeah, due to the distance between meetings, I'll send that via email and hopefully we can get a movement on that before the next meeting.
Yeah, so I think the feeling from this meeting is
Having options definitely helps, then we can actually narrow it down.
yeah, we
Yeah.
don't.
As well, the point I was trying to make about before.
Do you think
I
it's
felt
fair
like
to
this was
say,
like a
team, that we
handset.
don't actually
Yeah.
support this design at all?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And we're not trying to micromanage an artist, but we're just saying, let's do better.
Yeah. Is that the feeling,
Yeah.
Tracy? Are you on mute?
Yep, no, I'm sort of there. Yeah, it's like I get aspects of it, but yeah, the woman she looks like she's conjuring demons, and you know, and if we're an all-female community board, they're going to go, oh, it's the witch from the community board.
She's got the long black hair.
I'm not going to get into this debate. It's going one way.
I actually think that's a good idea, Graham. Don't. Okay, so we'll leave that there. So if you want to feed that back, Tom, and
I will. Yep.
yeah,
And I'll
see
keep
if
you
they
guys
can get
updated.
something else.
Thank you.
Right, Steve.
Bike stands, yes. So yeah, the walkabout that you had with Brian, apparently there were 4 identified locations for new bike stands. Yeah, and there was a couple of issues with the selection of the stand that the community board looked at. It was from Italy, which basically meant that the lead-in time for the rack to actually get to New Zealand was going to be between 6 and 9 months, which would just be far too long. And the hoop gap's also 2.1 inches wide. So anyone that knows mountain bikes, you normally have around about a 2.2 to 2.6 inch wide mountain bike tire, which is the primary sort of use around town, is all the people using the A2O trails. We just need to make sure we're catering for that. So it wasn't quite going to be suitable. And they were also coming back at over $3,000, which is getting quite expensive just for the budgets. So I've come up with a couple of other options that could potentially work. So I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, because we don't like any of those ones provided.
Yep. Yeah, so I got the email there. I'm not sure if you can see my screen.
Not yet. Not yet.
We'll try that. How about now?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there they go.
Cool.
So
That's what we're
It
talking
looks
about.
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
nailed it, Tom.
So that's one option there.
Yeah.
Going with the sort of hydro theme, you've got almost the water waving through the bar, which looks quite cool, I thought. Otherwise, we've got another option here, which was quite similar to the design that you selected, but doesn't have the granite. This is made in New Zealand. It's actually the widest of all the racks, so it would cater for really, really big, wide tyres, which would be quite good for local mountain bikers.
Yeah.
Another option here.
No,
No. And another one that's more grounded.
no.
Yeah. So we've got down to, I think, 2.
Oh, tough call, tough
What
call.
could we get 2 of each?
2 of each.
Well, there's some areas where, I don't know, I think we need to start having things that are.
Yeah, community, that has more options, so 4 of them would fit more bikes than 4 of those other ones.
And it's a bit different, and I think it suits the town.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That's one.
Hydro.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like a,
coils, yeah.
So maybe
yeah,
Big turbine or a big penstock.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's similar to what we originally wanted as well. Well, the circle one.
Original one, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
awesome. Thank you for that.
That's easy. You don't have to look at those round ones again.
So you're easy to deal with, really. Just give us what we want.
Okay.
How I unshare.
Have you got the
Right.
credit card out? Are you ordering?
So the Wilding Pines removal on Glenline Road, the Holiday Park and adjoining property owners have been advised of the plans to take out the pines, and they're all supportive. We had no issues with the conversations we had. We just did a door knock. I got over 50% of the residents down there. The other 50% were out of town people. Yeah, so the work is, we've selected a contractor, PF Olsen, who's going to be doing the work. And Environment Canterbury is also going to be assisting with the costs. And we're hoping to get the local firewood groups that help donate wood to charity groups, or those, that can't actually chop their own wood, get them into the offcuts, which should be good. Single Man's Hut, what do we got? I hope David is able to give an update about that one, if David's with us.
Here we go.
We're still pulling the information together on both the single man's and the workers' house. We're looking at a couple of alternative options for the workers' house, and what we're wanting to do is actually determine exactly what we want to use it for in the long term, because that will determine, one, what services we need to connect it to, and also what kind of level of building control or building consent it'll have to be designed for. So I'm pulling together, I'm getting an input from Tom's team, or the Parks and Reserves team, because of the property that is going on. I'm getting some input from planning on making sure that it meets the district plan requirements. I'm getting input from building, and they're giving me a variety of different inputs because of potentially what the use is. And I'm getting input also from the services group. Some locations are easier to service, particularly water's not really a problem because it's a reasonably cheap service to run, but sewage certainly is. And some of the locations potentially that might mean an additional pump, which could be $10,000 or $15,000, depending on how far away from the sewer it is. We're hoping that we'll pull all that information together within the next week or so. So I'm sorry that that's a verbal update. It's just taking a little bit of time to pull those threads together.
Well, it is a big project.
There's only 2 potential sites though, isn't there?
There's basically, there's obviously the single man's, my reading of the situation, the single man's camp was quite large. So, there's lots of potential sites, because I think we need to be beside, there's no need for services apart from making sure that it's structurally sound and not going to blow away in the wind. So that's a fairly easy one. But the other one is just basically where we would locate. They've put in the the location, just trying to think, how do I describe it? By the car park anyway, down opposite the big trucks. And there's discussion about whether would it be better over in the land by the big trucks, are the two that people have raised with me.
Yeah. I've gone on to the committee, so I'm part of that group now.
Yep.
And-
Can I just ask, would that decision come back to council for a decision as well in the terms of the location?
Angela, questions. I'm not quite sure who's got the delegated authority to put things on. Both blocks, to my understanding, and I'm still getting title searches, but just looking at our records, it shows both the freehold titles owned by Mackenzie District Council. I'd have to look at the delegations about who would have permission to put facilities on it. All I would say, if the Twizel Community Board decided they're going to build a playground on there, it probably wouldn't need permission of council, but the building's a lot different, and also kind of what's the word? Yeah, for example, if they want to use it for a museum, we've got to take another planning consent issues around parking, etc., etc. So probably yes, maybe a bigger building would be a council decision. Not sure. I'd have to look at delegations. Sorry.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought I would just understand the process for authorising that, whether it was at community board level or whether it came back to council.
I think it would be good to actually have a recommendation from the community board to go to council, it then buys in from the whole organisation.
That's the way I see it too, David. Definitely want a recommendation. We definitely need support and consultation with the community board before we make a final decision.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. That's why I asked the question, just to make sure that we had covered the process off.
The feeling of the heritage group is that they'd like it in that, there's the muster's hut, there's that playground, and then there's that area in front of it, and that's where they'd like it to go. That's their preferred spot, and their alternative is beside the display towards the dock building.
Yeah,
what I might do, I might liaise with the committee outside of this meeting, possibly, just to make sure we're covered on all bases, that we don't come back with a report and someone says, oh, why didn't you look at that? So maybe that may be a good way forward over the next week. Maybe it's you and I, Tom, possibly either you, or if it's not you, it might have to be Chris. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But the feeling of this community board is that we're very supportive of this project.
Yes, when it comes down to this site, Madam Chair, it probably needs a wee bit of community consultation. The trouble we seem to get into with the Meridian building that was put at a front entrance.
Yeah, could do.
I would suggest that we do have some kind of engagement with the community around this, just to make sure that there is support, broad support for the location. I think that makes sense as well.
Well, actually, there is a sense of urgency with getting something done because of the timing for moving the building.
But it's a massive project.
And we don't want to move it twice. Well, we're trying to avoid moving it twice.
We've got options. I think it's important that we do it once and we do it right. As long as we liaise with the heritage group and they know what's happening, and David's crossed his T's and dotted his I's in terms of.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, that's important. Yeah. I think that there is quite a buzz around the town about the project.
It's
Hugely
exciting. Yeah.
being supported.
Well, Madam Chair, there's a few things that come up. Like David said, it depends on the final use. Is it a museum? Is it open for public? Is it going to have the DPTA in there? What's its full use going to be?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
that
Kiosk, a working kiosk.
People that can talk about our tourism.
Yeah, it's definitely all in this,
Well, the group's got, other people to talk to about it.
Yeah.
What happens is, though, that we're suddenly building with all these uses and needs, it may have to be developed into a much higher standard of building than what it would be if it wasn't going to be many people in it. And as such, it may need quite a bit of work done to it. And I don't think, as me, I want to see it sitting there for too long at the front entrance, looking like the youth centre.
You look at what's happening with the work that the paint job on, all the heritage stuff, it's all well kept.
Yes, yeah,
I
they're a
think-
team that's going to
I
get
think,
it done.
I think
They do.
Twizel people have got a
It's a bit
proven
different to it.
record of when they want something done, you know, they get a medical centre and they get shit done. It's not the
Yeah.
council.
Oh, that's good. Sorry.
But it is all around issues of, you know, does it need disabled access? Does it need all those sorts of things? So those all need to be defined, fire rating, fire escapes, all that sort of stuff. And that all depends on the final use of the building. And like you say, we want to do it once and do it right. So let's see if we can cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Yeah. But let's get all that information with a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Right,
Right, liquor ban.
Liquor ban signs.
go.
So we have a whole lot of ACMs back signs, so plastic and metal, so they're super durable, that have been made up, which are going to be going up around the township, the Twizel township, and areas that are sort of identified in the liquor ban plan that's been laid out by our planning department. And we also have a stencil, which is also going to be stenciling the ground with a white spray paint, which will be placed around the entrances and exits of the liquor ban area. So these are going to be hopefully up in the next month or two. And that should hopefully address some of the issues we've had through Christmas and New Year. Yeah, and that's all I've got for the report.
Cool, thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, Arlene, do we need to move that report we received, or do we do that?
No, you don't need to do that.
Okay, that's right, so we'll go on to the engineering manager's update. Joanie.
Can I just ask a question? Do we need to move anything, Arlene, just around the decision that we'll bring the decision back to council on the location of the hut and the museum?
I think that was already resolved in the earlier meeting.
Yeah, we did that 5 weeks ago.
Okay, no, sorry, I forgot that.
We didn't.
I just needed a reminder.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll jump into it, Madam Chair, and to the committee board members. I've got the engineering manager's update for you. Three Waters, our water supply, as we mentioned again, that well, our water quality standards are being met. We did drop a little bit in our use of water because of the rainy weather and less irrigation going on. The water replacement project complete, that's good. And as mentioned in earlier comments, I believe water meter work being delayed, but we're ready to, we think we'll get it done before June. So commenced in June, sorry. Wastewater in Twizel, we've got a new rising main, a pumped pipe of wastewater from the Mackenzie Park pump station. So we're going to put the pipe in first. I believe that's on, can't think of the name, sorry. And then we're going to install the pump station after that on the existing pump station, which is approximately Batcher Road, 21 Batcher Road across the street from there. So that will all be coming through. Stormwater, nothing to mention. Roading updates. Continuing our normal winter, operations, and we're getting ready for the winter season. This is prep work behind the scenes of scheduling things. We did put on a mini giveaway sign on Osler Road. I think was something the council had asked for. There was some graffiti apparently. I missed this one. I didn't. This came to me after the fact. Graffiti on a head wall on the entrance to town, and the roading team contract maintenance group took care of that graffiti. There's one item on here that Dave, you put on, MOW, and I didn't know what that meant, sorry.
Ministry of Works house, that's the house.
Oh, that's what we've been talking about. Okay, so this one has appeared on both Tom's list and my list, but I'm gonna take it off my list because I believe Tom has it under control. Actually, Dave is shepherding that forward, I think, with the next step on that process. I want to throw out one other thing which is not on the report, and that is the town Christmas tree. So congratulations, I understand you guys are going ahead with the 6-meter tree. And I'd just like to know, who could I speak to about that? I want to work with the manufacturer that you're ordering from, just to make sure that we're dark sky compliant on what because I believe you chose the lighted tree option. So I want to just double check what it offers in terms of lumens and other issues we have around dark sky, and then kind of give you my feedback to you guys. It may be the case we might have to go with a non-lighted option if we can't meet dark sky requirements. So
okay, Jody, you just liaise with, I'm the council liaison person in that committee. So just talk with me if there's anything that you need to know, and I can find all the information that you need to know.
Excellent, really, really good. Okay, thank you. And I was also, sorry, I am new to the area. I've got the least value when it comes to this sort of thing, but it's very noticeable to me that the skies are bright for long into the evening, and that a lighted tree might really not be that valuable, because when would you see it at 2 a.m., and who's out and about? That's an exaggeration, of course, but I just thought maybe, especially if it runs into some kind of issues with dark sky, that we aren't able to make sure that it is dark sky compliant, just to give some thought about the need for putting lighting on it, just throwing that out to the community.
We just have a waiver for the few weeks of Christmas. There's some houses around my area that are lit up like a bloody Christmas tree all year round. I mean, they're not compliant.
Okay, well,
we'll sort that out, Joni.
Thank you very much. You and I.
What you need to know, and then I will get the information that you need.
Great. Great. You and I can chat. Thank you very much. That's all I had from the engineering managers, unless Dave, you remembered something that I've left off the list. I don't think so. I think we're good.
Thank you. Thanks, Joni. Okay, general business and councillor update.
I think we've already had a oh, I'm working through general business now.
The update on the information here.
Sorry. Oh, well, I missed something.
No, this is here.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay,
Yeah, so update on the information
chaos,
chaos, but Angela's
Can
already.
I ask a quick question around the information chaos? Did that come from the Twizel pool of money, or did that come from a general pool of money? Who paid for the kiosk?
I'm not sure. I'll have to find that out. Okay, I don't have the background on that.
I remember it. I don't want to get it wrong.
I don't think we.
I think it's came from council. Council put that there. That was to satisfy the concerns around taking it out of the council office. We agreed to
The
do.
money was shifted, wasn't it, Graham? So the money that was spent on staffing the information centre plus the Saturday that it used to be open, that money was then used. That rate that was collected was then used to be put into the kiosks. That was to mow it. Yeah.
All right, Emily. And quite frankly, it's a bit of an embarrassment. I saw some people there the other day trying to make it work.
Yeah,
No,
that's
really anything.
That's right, Graham. Chris has got it on his agenda. It just needs connectivity, and it just needs to get connected so that we can then get it operational.
But it's been sitting there for over a year, not operational.
Yeah,
Is that a very good look?
No, it's not a very good look, and certainly Chris got someone to go out and have a look and see what the issues were. They diagnosed it. Now it's a case of getting a contract to go out and actually get it connected. So yeah, it's not a very good look, and I can only apologise for that.
Yeah, so could we get some sense of urgency over getting that thing going?
Absolutely.
Cool. Now, this one here, the request for footpaths, Tussock Bend and the Drive, that's come from me, and I do live out there. So I walk out there and live out there every day, and it's just, and Emily lives on the Drive, and I don't know whether they have similar problems. There is absolutely no road marking on the main thoroughfare of Tussock Bend, which is Temple Drive, so the road's quite narrow anyway. There's nowhere to go because there's great big ditches on either side. There's no road marking. Every day for the last 3 weeks we've had fog. It's really, really dangerous. So that's one thing that I think needs addressed. Is that a similar problem at the Drive?
Oh, yeah.
So there's no road markings out there. There's no footpaths. And like, where did all the money go from the sub-developers pool, you know, the money that they pay? And where is all that money? And why isn't it used to make things better out there? The sections out on Tussock Bend were originally 8,000 squares, and now they're 2,000. So it's more residential than rural. And there's lots of families living out there permanently, plus a lot of families that go there, and they're all walking and biking and potentially are going to get mowed down. And I personally don't want that on my conscience. So where could we go to get some action out there? What could we do?
I flagged it with Scott again because he was talking about footpaths recently about the Glen line. We had I think it's important that there was a whole lot of work done on prioritising footpathing in Twizel. And I feel the work was done, and the Drive and the Tussock Bend and Norway Starch, those 3 areas which are high residential and high use, and was part of the next package. But that seems, I know it was all to do with the last round of shovel-ready projects, Angela, after COVID.
Yep, I'm not sure of the background on that, Emily. I was going to ask if anyone knows the background to the developers agreement and what was agreed when that subdivision was.
I don't think there was a strategy in place with what happened to that money. It got put into a pool, and unfortunately it is one of those situations that are lost. But I think that's where we need to draw a line in the sand and highlight the fact that it is needed, and it needs to be highlighted when we are looking for shovel-ready projects or opportunities out there. So that's why I flagged it with Scotty the other day to say, please, can we not forget that these projects, we can't just keep going and doing new things where we've got footpaths that haven't been done in areas that are high residential, huge growth areas, and we need to get that connectivity sorted. It is a really key
especially now,
key part of the town.
especially now you can drive right through Temple Drive.
Yeah,
Like, the fact that you drive right through means that the number of vehicles going through there is a lot higher.
Well, the
than it used to be.
latest fare that I've noticed over summer is that the boaties decide to use Temple Drive as a shortcut out to the boat launch at the rowing start end of Lake Lieutenant, which is great, except for there is not enough room. So now you've got boaties going out with boats both ways. You've got families with young kids biking and people walking, and it's substandard. It's not good enough. There should be a footpath.
So it's important to note that these roads that these subdivisions are, and they're not normal two-way, they're almost like a single lane. They're a very narrow road with no marking on it. So when you've got a child biking in a car going down loaded with scaffolding or whatever,
not to mention
it's just important to note that that's the main concern there.
We've changed things a bit now, but unfortunately at the time when those developments went ahead, we did not have in our district plan that they had to put in footpaths. That has been a mistake. So when you talk about developer money going into footpaths, there was none.
But wasn't there a subdivision fund or something?
The land subdivision fund, yes, but it should have had footpaths on it. Footpaths should have been something that our developers were putting in.
So that's fine, and that is, I talked to
Frank.
No, the old guy that left, Bernie Hart, about this 5 years ago. And like we're 5 years later, or nearly 6, and we've still got no footpaths out there, and it's just getting busier and busier. It's like, and there's all that building and all those.
Can I just ask David, in terms of our asset management plans and provision for any of this, is there any provision for any of that? David, I don't know if you know that.
Graham's right. When the subdivisions went through, they didn't have any provisions for footpaths. And then when they actually, the problem is that they've now been able to subdivide down. So you've got a density there with no footpaths. So we recognise the need. At the moment, my understanding, there's nothing, at least nothing in the LTP for additional footpaths. And I think we need to add it to our next asset management plan and to our long-term plan. We do have some money in there, what we call minor improvements money, but that minor improvement money goes right across the district for minor safety works, for all sorts of things. We've recently just spent $1 million on footpaths in Twizel, which is running out the shared footpath out there. So, there is a strategy slowly. We've got a little bit of money that we're building a new footpath across the front end of Tekapo. And so basically there's a priority list, but there's no funding for new footpaths. I'd have to talk to Scott whether they would be eligible for funding through the NZTA. I'm not sure whether they would be, whether they'd get a benefit cost or not. But yes, we recognise there's a need for it, but no, in the short term, there's no funding for it in the LTP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
from
I'm looking for a footpath the whole length of Temple Drive from Osler to Smith Drive, just because that is the heavy. The rest of it's fine. I'll walk the whole thing, and it's a lot safer off that main thoroughfare. That's just where it needs to go, which is probably 2 kilometres off footpath.
It's quite scary.
But
sometimes.
but what adds to the danger is that it's so deep. The ditches or whatever they are, storm water, and I'll tell you what, if they get filled up, we need to get Noah's Ark and man, we'll all be drowning. Those things. It's just ridiculous. They're so deep. And I'm not sure what the main track is in the drive. What's the main
drive?
So the drive could probably do with one as well. The thing with Northwest Arch, if that's next cab off the rank, there is a flat area that you can walk off the road on Northwest Arch. There isn't anything on Temple Drive, and that's what concerns me.
And Madam Chair, what I'd suggest, maybe you get a parking lot for all your projects, you put them in there and then you prioritise them. So when we come to talk about annual plans and long-term plans, you've got those lists of projects, because quite often they'll come up at a community board meeting and then we will have forgotten them when we come to the annual plan. But if you had a parking lot of those projects, it would enable us to go away and do some estimates around them. And then in actual fact, I'm not saying that the council would recommend, the council would put them into their next long-term plan, but at least we've got the right information to put them up as proper projects. And we've also got the right information if funding comes from our external, so that we've almost turned them into a shovel-ready project. So that's just a suggestion, because you have got quite a few projects that you'd like to do. Let's get them into a parking lot and then we don't lose them. Whether we drive them all off the parking lot all at once, I can't guarantee that, but at least we've got them defined and priced.
As long as it's not a long vehicle bay parking lot, because that'll be far too many years.
Well, I don't know, Tracy, from my perspective, I think it's looking pretty good at the moment, isn't it? Is there problems with it?
With what?
With the long
No, I was referring to the time frame, David.
Yes, I know.
Just coming back to David's point, I think it makes perfect sense to do that because, post-elections, we're then into the next cycle of starting to work on our long-term plan. And it would be good to engage early with you guys to find out what some of those key projects are so that we can see what it does to our funding and what it does to our rates and understand that. So I think that's a really valid suggestion that David's made.
I think previously, though, we did start to do this, but we got cut short. with changeovers in staff and having to wait for different policies to be worked on and strategies and things like that, because we did have a list that was quite succinct and
none of it's been done.
yeah, and so we've sort of got pushed back and things like that. So we have tried, and now we're just trying to bring those same things back up again.
Yep. And apologies, we've had a lot of turnover,
Yeah.
but I think if we take it forward and we make sure that everyone's aware of that, then at least hopefully and there's some continuity. Hopefully we can get this delivered. We can see we understand the impact, so we can see what we can consider and what we can't consider.
Yeah, the main reason why I wanted to put this on the agenda is I just wanted to find out how to go about getting something done. I don't necessarily see it in terms of a project that the community board might be. It's just something that we're urging the council or the council staff to take on board and to get it out there that it's, something that needs to be done.
Yep, and it's proactive to do that.
Yes, well, I'm glad you think so. Thank you. So an update on the Twizel Heritage House. I think we've covered that. Yeah. So signage and playground strategies, Amanda, that was something new.
I just wanted to know where we were at with like the signage and the playground strategies and things like that, because like we just talked about, we've got all these things that have been sitting in a parking lot waiting, and we've been told we have to wait for certain strategies to come up or come around, and it's sort of like, can we get going, or do we have to hold off? Again, like we had quite a few things around playground things, but we were told we had to wait for the playground strategy to be done before we could start to look at what, and I mean, it's coming up 3 years since we came up with some of these playground things. It was one of the first things we did at one of our first meetings.
It was make a list of projects, and we've been.
I'm happy to report back that the playground strategy, the public toilet strategy, help me, what are the other two strategies, Tom? We're going to council in May. So basically they have been out to a pretty good round of consultation. I must admit the consultation is being discussed by council, and we are making the final alterations to the documents for council approval. So that should unlock it. But, once we've got a strategy working down, it will mean that we'll, two things, be able to pick up funding, hopefully easier. But secondly, also helps council prioritise things across the district. So they're all, I'm not sure what the date is, 10th of May, the May council meeting, something like that.
Yep, we're going to have to call an extraordinary meeting on the 10th of May because we've got to adopt the annual plan. So we might as well put the strategy on there as well.
And signage around the place. We had a walk around. When did we do our signage walk around last year?
So Angie, you were at it 2 years ago?
And it just seems like nothing. And I mean, yes, I know you're adopting new designs and things like that. It just seems that it takes forever. And then we have the community coming to us and saying, when's this going to happen? And we'll say, well, we're trying. But it just seems to just never happen.
Are we talking about signage to show people around on the roads, or are we talking about signage in parks and reserves? So sorry.
I guess in all forms, like we were talking about entrance to Twizel signs, we were talking about signs with identifying that this was not the marketplace, but the shopping area. Yeah, there was a lot of things that we discussed. We even discussed a pool mural at that stage.
Yeah, and signs saying like the no dogs and all that.
Yeah, and the fact that in the marketplace you can bring your bikes in, but you cannot ride your bikes. Things like that, because it's not very clear.
And Scott and I have started to look at the strategy around signage to get people to Market Square and places like that. We have had a number of discussions, and there's a couple of difficulties, Meridian being one of them, that corner there. But Scott is he hasn't given to me. Apparently we did have a signage layout, I think, planned for all of Twizel, and he's just digging that out for me so that we can have a look and see how suitable and bring it back. It won't get into the detail of no cycling in the town centre and things like that, but that's reasonably easy to probably address and resolve. This is more about getting people into the town centre so they could spend some money.
If there was anything that was safety related, David, we could use some of the NZTA funding because they've got a lot of funding for safety.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, we wanted to update the, you know, you can't cycle and all those sorts of.
I mean, yes, we accept that there's going to be bikes within this area, and that's why we've got bike racks, but just the fact that you need to be wheeling them, not like holding them and wheeling them along instead of riding them.
Is Angie still here? Angie Taylor?
No, she apologised. She had to leave.
Oh, okay. But she wrote down everything.
Yeah, she
and-
did.
yeah.
She took a lot of notes about what we wanted.
Are you happy with that? Yeah. Okay, right. Emily had to go, so we're not going to have a update on council activities. So community board action list. Who is Tom still? Who's going to go through this?
Madam Chair, Graham may be able to give you an update on council activity.
That's what I was going to suggest. Graham or myself could just give a bit of an update.
Well, normally Emily would do it.
Yeah,
Emily's gone, Graham.
Oh, she gone.
She's had to go.
I can give a quick update, Graham, if you want me to.
Start, I'll fill in.
So just to let you know where we're at, we're in the final stages of doing, so tomorrow we'll adopt our annual report. Our annual plan you've had an update on, and we're going out to engagement on that. It won't be a full consultation, but just really informing the community after the 10th of May. We're also preparing for elections coming up. So elections come up, we'll have to do a pre-election report, which gives an account of the stewardship of council for the last 3 years and gives prospective candidates a good look at what's coming up in the next 3 years. In terms of the Te Mana Huna Kiuta Destination Management Plan, we're out to consultation at the moment on our vision. We've set our vision and our principles. We've come up with some ideas for projects and some key themes for projects. And really what we're asking the operators and the community is to give us some feedback on whether they think we've got those key themes and the projects right. The next stage would be to actually start to draft the destination management plan and to have that out by the end of June. Some really exciting news is we got some funding that was announced by the minister, some funding for a Matariki event in Tekapo, and that funding is running through Christchurch NZ. This is the first time that Matariki will be celebrated as a public holiday on the 26th of June. We've also put an application in for tourism infrastructure funding, and we'll be waiting to hear the upshot of that probably within the next month.
What about infrastructure? Can I just ask tourism infrastructure? What's funding earmarked for?
The funding is earmarked for, capacity constraints on infrastructure. It also was funded. It was actually targeted for anything, any support that was needed for to support the Matariki theme. And so we've put one application in, which we're waiting to see if we get any successful funding for that. So that's a bit of a wait and see, but it was specifically geared this year around the Matariki theme. We did have a workshop with councillors and ran through a whole host or a long list of projects, but it's also about being shovel ready and being able to get those off the ground and done fairly quickly. So one of the things, there'll probably be another funding round in August. So we probably need to get the criteria out, circulated amongst the community boards in Twizel, and see if there's any opportunities there that you could identify that would make sense for us to apply for. The other thing that we've been doing is as I said, just working away on the 3 water projects. David's managing those. Those are going really, really well, and we expected to deliver all the upgrades that we envisaged as part of that by the end of June, and have spent the money. And some of the more sector level kind of things that are happening in local government, we've joined a group called the Community for Democracy. Graham can give you a bit of update on his recent visit to Wellington, and tell us what happened there. But that's really around the new model of taking the water delivery, service delivery away from councils towards the larger entities. And this group that we've joined are not opposed to the improvements in drinking water, but as opposed to the structure that's been put on the table by the Minister of Local Government. We also had a panel discussion with the Future for Local Government. That's a panel that's got together to actually discuss, how future government could be shaped, taking some things that we currently have strengthened, and if they did take the 3 waters away, what potentially could fill the gap, and what sort of roles how we would see that sort of being developed or shaped. So in my council report to council this month, which is tomorrow, I've got a section on both of those, and it would probably be really useful for me to circulate that to the community boards, just for a bit of background reading as to what's going on at a strategic level in local government. But I'll hand over to Graham, and he can give us a bit of an upshot around his visit to Wellington. One last thing, just on the COVID stuff, we've been monitoring the situation quite closely across the district. The latest stats from South Canterbury DHB show that we're on the decline in terms of transmission of COVID and Omicron. Graham has been really instrumental in getting rats distributed via the rural post to the rural ratepayers, and he advocated for that, and based on his suggestion that was taken up, and they're now doing that. We certainly have removed all of our mandates, vaccine mandates to council offices and facilities, but we're still maintaining a vaccination policy for our staff, and we're in the process of busy just looking at that, reviewing our health and safety assessment, and then making a decision about staff vaccination going forward. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll probably hand over to Graham to give us a bit of an upshot around his visit to Wellington.
Thanks, Angela. That was a very comprehensive update. Mackenzie is one of 22 councils that have joined this Communities for Democracy concerns. We last Monday met, there was 22 mayors representing 1.4 million people. We met with Minister Nanai Mahutu to take to her a compromise plan about regionalising water. We fully support Tomato Alwai, which is the new regulator, to come on board and regulate water, because we do believe that we should continue to improve it. However, we want a regional based model rather than the whole of the South Island, or virtually the whole of the South Island, and really concerned that we won't have a voice, and we're not going to be paid for our assets either. They're just going to be taken over by the asset that runs the water entity. So got some major concerns. I don't know, the minister heard us. I don't know whether we made any difference or not. They're very set on this model. I have talked with our mana whenua, and they too are a little concerned over the total entity. Bear in mind that the entity D, which they're going to put us into, is in the Tahu iwi area, which is the whole of the South Island except Nelson and Marlborough. We've got major concerns, as I said. So watch the space, but we certainly have got great support, especially in the rural councils, but also Christchurch and Auckland are opposed to it. Dunedin had been opposed to it, but they've now reversed their decision. But as I say, watch the space, because I think some of the fact that Mackenzie will retain its autonomy is all tied up in this and the future of local governance and what else it's going to lead to.
Thanks, Graham. Right, is that it?
I'd also like to thank and just put out there what a great relationship we have now with New Zealand Rowing. And we went ahead with the Māori Cup. We also got the other regatta there. We've been sort of said they're very impressed with the way the community accepted them. They were able to run it within the guideline regulations as such. And I hope it brought a few dollars back to our town.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
You're a few
There
around.
was quite a buzz around the place.
It was nice. It was good.
Okay, community board action list. So, Tom, are you going to lead us through that, or who's going to?
Madam Chair, you don't have to go through it bit by bit if you don't want to. It's really just there for your information.
Yeah, well,
A lot of it's really,
A lot of it's-
man-made hill.
well, yeah, what's the story with that? We've done some planting, we're going to do some more. Nobody knows.
Latest I know on it, it's just there's been a bit more spraying that's happened up there, and there was watering at the tail end of the summer. I think that's starting to have wrapped up. Yeah.
Are the youth centres just sitting there fenced off? Nothing's happening, is it?
Sorry, I've asked my EA to set up a meeting with Sport Twizel, the community board, and various other key stakeholders in the community, so that we can actually start to have a discussion around some of the key projects in Twizel, and hopefully we can come up with a list of some of these projects and a way forward. So it's really starting to begin the discussion on that. I said I would do it. We've been quite busy, and it's also been difficult to set this up in COVID, but we'll get it set up. I have told my EA that it's a priority, so hopefully we'll get that set up within the next month.
Okay, cool. And the large machinery display, we're not doing anything with that at the moment. All the working men cut, Twizel market upgrades starting in spring. O'Hare Road is reserve development, we've already talked about.
I just want to, it doesn't come under the compacted bin and rubbish service on a Sunday morning, but the green bins, fantastic. Like, what a fantastic initiative, brilliant.
Yeah.
And a lot of the feedback I'm getting from people, both holiday makers and locals, is brilliant, especially like you can get rid of your green stuff in there now without having to fill up your red bin with green stuff.
Cool.
Really pleased to hear that. It's a shame Angie's not on board, because we've had a few at the margins, some problems with delivery of the kind of last 1% of the bins, and she's pulling her hair out. So she'll be really pleased to get some feedback that people are happy and it's going well. So thank you for that.
I'll make sure next time I see her, I'll let her know, but hopefully we might be able to point her in the direction of this further recording as well.
Yeah, be good.
Maybe you could pass on.
Yes, that is,
very positively received.
And they're out regularly, like it's, in effect, it's weekly, brilliant.
So the O'Hare Road reserve development's ongoing. The Twizel mural, or murial as we like to call it, is going back. Broken glass and liquor ban. Tom O'Neill's working on new signs for the liquor ban. We heard about that. Golf club rubbish.
I'm going to schedule a meeting between Angie, myself, and a member of the golf club at some stage. Yep.
The 12 swimming pool meetings happening in winter. The Walden Pines is handled. Heritage House is ongoing. I think that's just about it. Has anyone got anything else they want to say? No? Where's Renee? You happy, Renee? Good. Okay, well, the meeting's finished. Thank you very much, everyone. See you in 3 months.
Well.